My wife and I are in the fortunate position of being wealthy. We had to work our butts off to get where we are, and we never forget where we came from. As a result, our kids grew up rich kids, but we never spoiled them, even when we could have. They went to nice schools and had nice things, but they also had summer jobs and after-school jobs to pay for their extras. We also pushed philanthropy into our family so our kids recognize that they're privileged and that our life isn't remotely how regular people live. For the most part, our kids have grown up to be respectful and good people. Our oldest children are twin boys and their sister, 18 months younger than them. All three are in college now. Our youngest two are in 8th grade. I got a call from our bank a couple of days ago saying that someone had cashed a check that was charged to our bank account for $62,000 and that the check had been made out to the tuition office of the university my oldest three kids attend. Naturally, I investigated the matter with the university and got some answers. I pieced together that one of my kids snagged my checkbook and wrote a tuition check for a friend of theirs. There's a much bigger story behind why this kid couldn't pay, but that's private. And my wife and I agreed to fund this young person's education because of their struggles. I grilled my kids and figured out that it was our daughter, Joanna. Joanna was apologetic, but was also insistent that she stood behind her actions. I respect my daughter for her convictions, and she really did have good reasons for why she did it, but the fact remains that she stole, and then she hid it. Joanna asked what her punishment was, and I told her to get a job, because she now owes her mother and me $62,000. Here's the thing. I don't expect Joanna to pay us back, and if she came to me tomorrow with the money, I wouldn't take it. What I want to see is an effort made, an acknowledgement of her actions and the consequences. If I see that she's actively trying, I'll tell her that she doesn't have to pay me back. She's my kid and I love her, so all I want is for her to learn her lesson. But Joanna doesn't know all this. All she thinks is that she owes me $62,000. So naturally, I'm a horrible father and a very mean person. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. While your daughter had commendable intentions, she undeniably stole money from you, and there should definitely be consequences. You don't want to enable a mentality of the end justifies the means, because that's never a good outlook. You're right in punishing her, and you're right in not expecting full payback, but considerable effort, your promises and positions considered. Everyone's the idiot here. Who steals $62K and thinks it's okay? I don't care if you would pay to double that for the other kid. She stole your checkbook, faked your signature, and used it for payment of services. Somehow your kid dared to commit a felony and still thinks it's okay. And you think it's okay too from what I read. Maybe y'all watched Robin Hood a few too many times. Disagree. Not the idiot. She has a good heart, which is good. OP, job well done there, raising such conscientious children with the privilege they inherently had. I grew up on the breadline, and even now at 28, despite a pretty successful life, I am a long way from even breaking even on my assets versus liabilities. It took me many, many years to truly gain and exhibit empathy and generosity, despite firsthand experience with having nothing. The fact you instilled those values in your kids, despite having no needs, to the point that when your daughter steals from you, it's literally to help someone in need. Just wow. You are amazing parents. No, she doesn't. She'd have a good heart if she asked her parents for help, or organized a fundraiser, or got a job to help her friends out, or any number of things that don't involve outright theft. You are the idiot. She should be legitimately punished. She stole $62,000 for God's sake. It doesn't matter why. It warrants more than a slap on the wrist. You said they aren't spoiled, but non-spoiled kids don't steal over $60,000 from their parents and then say they still think they did the right thing. Not criminally. There's nothing to be gained in ruining her life, but you need to punish her. I can't believe how blasé you are about this. My wife and I tried for a baby for a long time, but couldn't have one. We finally decided to adopt, and we adopted a tween boy, Jared, fake name. We weren't in a good financial situation, but we tried to do our best. 4 years after that, we had a daughter, Jada. A few years after that, I got a very good job, so we were able to provide a very comfortable life for Jada. Also, I admit that as Jared was our first child, we had no idea how to be parents, and we were more strict, like early curfews, being a little overprotective, and things like that. But with Jada, we had more experience and didn't make those mistakes. Now Jared is 30 and Jada is mid-teens. Jared keeps complaining about how unfair it is that Jada has a better life. We apologized and told him that we wished we could give him a better life, but things were different back then. Today he was at our home and Jada was telling him about her boyfriend, and he said, "You have a boyfriend? I wasn't allowed to have a girlfriend when I was your age." Then she told him about our trip, and he told me, "You take her on trips? You never treated me like this." Guess we know who your favorite is. I just got mad and told him, "Can't you be happy for your sister? Stop acting like you're a kid when you're 30. Yes, we couldn't afford trips back then. Just get over it." He called me an idiot and left. Jada's on my side and thinks he's being childish, but my wife says I'm the idiot and should apologize. You are the idiot. Why didn't you include him on this trip? You need to be more sensitive to your older son's feelings instead of calling him names and telling him to get over it. It sounds like you favor your bio daughter over your adopted son, and he knows. You shouldn't have adopted a kid in a bad financial position, and you should have read some parenting books or something. You don't just get to adopt a kid and then toss him out like a practice pancake. Just because you don't have the money doesn't mean you shouldn't attempt to treat him equally now. I completely understand where he's coming from. Seeing the younger sibling get spoiled after being raised by strict, financially struggling parents sucks. It's not his fault you weren't ready to be parents. You do owe him an apology, and probably a lot of money for the therapy he needs. I don't know. I don't think that not letting your son date at the same age that you're letting your daughter date now has anything to do with how much money you're making. You have a favorite child, a do-over child if you'd rather call her that. Of course, that's permanently impacted how Jared sees you. Update. I called Jared and told him we'd love it if he would come on a trip with us. He said he didn't want to come. I can go on trips by myself. I wanted to go when I was a kid. So I asked him what he wants me to do now, because I can't change his childhood. He said he wants me to leave him alone. So I'll be doing that. He's my son, but he's an adult, and I can't do anything to help him if he doesn't want to be helped. My teen female, mother, 40, is very, very Catholic, and for as long as I can remember, she has forced this on me in almost every aspect of my life. I don't intend to be dramatic, but it's ruined a good chunk of my life and childhood. I wasn't allowed to consume media that the Bible looked down upon for my entire childhood. I was interested in grunge music, and when I had been gifted a Nirvana and Soundgarden CD as a kid, she found them and threw them away. She has always scolded me for having interests that didn't align with her beliefs, and it's made me feel trapped. I may sound bad when I say this, but I can't tell if I just resent her or if I truly hate her. A couple of years back, a friend of mine introduced me to spirituality, witchcraft, astrology, etc., and it's something that resonates with me and makes me happy. I knew and I know that it was a risk to buy tarot cards, crystals, and rune stones of my own, but I kept them hidden in the ceiling because it moves up. I feel like I have the right to my own beliefs and spiritual practices, regardless of what my mother says or wants. Well, she found them. Don't ask me how because I have no idea. Still, it started a huge argument that ended in her calling me a disrespectful witch, a devil worshiper, and destroying all of my spirituality books, tarot cards, crystals, everything. I called her a hypocritical lunatic freak who thinks she gets to project her beliefs onto everyone else, and that's probably why my father divorced her. She paused and then began crying, calling me an ungrateful child from the bad place, and telling me that she was kicking me out next month. I don't know what to do. I know it was a low blow, but at the moment I didn't care, and I'm still debating on whether or not I should care. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Tell your mom to stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Being religious doesn't have to make you an ignorant, stubborn cultist. Sorry, your mom missed that memo. Call the cops. It's illegal for her to kick you out until you're 18. Does your school have a counselor or social worker? Talk to them about this. I mean, that's probably why she's divorced. I can't imagine many people wanting to be around someone like that unless they're as crazy as she is. Get out of there the second you're legally able. Start finding ways to put money aside ASAP if you can. In the meantime, gather all your important documents, birth certificate, social security card, etc. I recommend you try finding someone in your family or community to mediate between the two of you. You need to find a way to live with each other's differences for a few more years. My fiance, 30 male, and I, 26 female, recently got engaged. We discussed a few things about the wedding, and I told my fiance I'd like to have the wedding on my dad's farm. To give context about the farm, this was my dad's farm where we grew up. Our mother abandoned us. We didn't have much, and Dad struggled to keep us afloat throughout the years. He had many chances to sell the farm, but he refused and said that it was the only thing he had when he had nothing else. He passed away 5 years ago. He didn't get a chance to attend my wedding, but I thought that since his spiritual presence on the farm is strong, I could have the wedding there. This way, I'm including him in my milestone and having him be there to support me spiritually. My fiance laughed at my, quote, illogical thinking and said that I better just pay for a venue, but I could not afford it. He didn't believe that my family and I could not afford a venue. And then he and his mom started complaining about what the guests would say about the chosen place for the wedding, how they'll basically laugh, and how the guests themselves are of high class, and inviting them to the farm will make them, fiance and family, look small. I pointed out the sentimentality aspect, but my fiance lashed out at me, saying that I was being a dictator and that the farm represents zero sentimentalities to him and his family. So we started arguing, and he suggested I get a loan or something and forget the whole farm idea, even after I explained how we could make the place look elegant with lighting and decorations, but he was having none of it. His mom pulled me aside yesterday and urged me to let go of this horrible idea and start figuring out how to pay for a decent venue. I stopped speaking to her despite her pressuring me via hourly phone calls. My fiance is giving me the silent treatment at the moment. Context: their problem is with the state of the farm, but I suggested doing some decorations to make it more appealing. Where I live, the bride and her parents are expected to handle the cost of the wedding. Not the idiot. So you're expected to pay for the whole thing? If they're so high class, why aren't they paying, or at least helping? Frankly, I think that's a silly custom, but that's neither here nor there. Are you sure you want to marry this man? He laughed at your request. That's so important to you, and is the one acting like a dictator. There are plenty of wedding venues on farms. You just dress them up. They give a rustic vibe that many people like and pay top dollar for. Rich of him to call OP a dictator when he demands an expensive venue, shoots down her idea, and says that she must take out a loan for a wedding that she can't afford, complaining that she's making them look small. Your fiancé laughing about something important to you. Red flags everywhere. Your hopefully ex-fiancé is showing you who he is. Listen to him. My advice, run. Is this for real? Like, for real, for real? His mom pulled me aside yesterday and urged me to let go of this horrible idea and start figuring out a way to pay for a decent venue. I'm urging you now to let go of this horrible fiancé and start finding a way to find a decent one. You can take it as a message from your late dad. Is this the kind of man that your dad would want you to tie yourself to? Drop the fiancé and his family. The red flags are way too many. Do not commit yourself to this man. They crapped all over you, your family, and your life. If this is for real, run. Run far away. In my female 18 country, an 18th birthday is special because it's the legal age. It's typical to have a bigger party, family celebration, or something like that. As it happened, on the day of my birthday was my close cousin's wedding, an event which my whole family had and wanted to attend. I had no problem with that. My cousin had a whole big event to plan while being tight on budget, and if the place she wanted was free on the date of my birthday, then so be it. She wanted her wedding to take place in a rather picturesque place, which is almost always reserved, so she had to take any free date. So I planned with my parents that we'll celebrate my birthday 1 week later, and they'll let me hit a club with some of my friends an evening after the wedding as a sort of late celebration. I was actually very happy with this solution. On the day of my birthday, my parents sang me happy birthday, gave me symbolic gifts, and off we went for the wedding. Everything was going great, but at one point during the reception, my mother started silencing the band, got the microphone, and told the whole family that my 18th birthday was today and that they had to sing me happy birthday. She and Dad also proceeded to give me big gifts and a special tort, which I was sure I'd receive 1 week later. It was horrendously awkward for the guests, half of whom I didn't even know. I felt humiliated and like I had destroyed my cousin's, with whom I'm very close, wedding. I firmly believe that one shouldn't make another person's big day about themselves, and I never ever wanted my parents to pull something like that. I spent the rest of the day of the reception hiding in the corner, hoping that nobody would think that I really wanted my parents to do a scene during the reception. When we returned from the reception, my parents were beaming at me, proud of the surprise they did for me, and basically, they wanted me to praise and thank them. They also said that they called off the celebration next week since I had such a big moment on the wedding day. I honestly told them that I was feeling humiliated, that I'd prefer a smaller celebration at home than a forced happy birthday from the crowd, and that I felt like they ruined both my birthday and, more importantly, my cousin's wedding. Needless to say, they're mad at me and say that I'm an ungrateful, spoiled brat. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It sounds like you were the only one genuinely concerned with making your cousin's wedding day about her. I'm so sorry your parents made your birthday and her wedding about themselves. Call your cousin and apologize to your parents. Go clubbing with your friends. Never let your parents be involved in planning your birthday celebration again. Seeing that they had canceled her true birthday celebration because she had a good celebration at the wedding, my guess is they're cheap idiots. They cheaped out by hijacking someone else's event. I would call my cousin and apologize for their behavior, assuring her that I was not okay with it, and as surprised and fuming as she is. If she's upset about it, make sure it's not misplaced onto you. I'm just speechless. They ruined your cousin's wedding, they humiliated you, and they think that means that you don't get a celebration with your friends now? Just speechless. Such a big moment? They clearly don't want to have to organize and pay for your birthday celebration. It is a significant birthday, and it would be fair to you to reiterate that you're disappointed. Ask them if they did this because they can't afford it.